Today, the world stands still as we deliver heartbreaking news. Jinger Duggar, beloved star of TLC's 19 Kids and Counting, lies in critical condition after a harrowing car accident. Early reports indicate that Jingga suffered severe head trauma, multiple fractures, and internal injuries. She is admitted in the hospital, where medical staff fight to save her life. Fans and family members are devastated, awaiting updates around the clock. In the next 10 minutes, we will piece together the events of that fateful afternoon, examine eyewitness accounts, investigate the circumstances that led to this tragedy, hear from medical experts about her injuries, and share messages of support from loved ones around the globe. How did Jingga, who always exuded grace under pressure, end up in this terrifying situation? Stay with us as we uncover the full story behind the accident, her ongoing treatment, and what lies ahead in her long road to recovery. Jingga Nicole Duggar Vuolo captured hearts from the moment she stepped onto our television screens in 2008. From a sheltered upbringing in Arkansas to becoming an outspoken advocate for humanitarian causes, Jingga has always used her platform to spread kindness and hope. To understand the gravity of tonight's news, we must look back at Jingga's extraordinary journey. Born Jinger Nicole Duggar on December 21, 1993, in Tontitown, Arkansas, she was the 10th child in a family of 19. Jim, Bob, and Michelle Duggar raised their massive brood under the watchful eye of cameras as TLC's 19 Kids and Counting documented meals, chores, and family devotions. Even as a young girl, Jingga displayed a gentle spirit and caring heart. She often helped her younger siblings with homework, comforted crying babies, and volunteered at local soup kitchens on weekends. Yet, she also faced the pressures of reality TV, constant scrutiny, endless public commentary, and the challenge of forming her own identity amid 19 strong voices. Jingga navigated those pressures with grace. She memorized scripture, participated in church events, and quietly demonstrated an unwavering faith. In 2011, at age 17, Jingga made her first public statement on humanitarian issues, speaking at a community event about clean water initiatives. Her sincerity and compassion resonated beyond the family farm. That same year, she co-authored Growing Up Duggar. It's all about relationships alongside sisters Jana, Jill, and Jessa, offering readers heartfelt advice on friendship, purpose, and faith. Critics often questioned the Duggar family's outward image, but Jingga showed depth beyond labels, engaging in meaningful discussions and inspiring empathy. Jingga's life took a pivotal turn in 2015, when 19 Kids and Counting ended amid family scandal. In response, Jingga chose vulnerability over retreat. She attended Bible college briefly and took time to reflect on her upbringing and future. The world watched as she emerged from a sheltered existence into a broader horizon. In November 2016, Jingga announced her engagement to Jeremy Vuolo, a former professional soccer player turned pastor. Their wedding, held in May 2017 and featured on the spin-off series Counting On, drew millions of viewers. Their love story felt authentic, late-night conversations about purpose, shared devotionals, and genuine affection. Jingga and Jeremy moved from California to Laredo, Texas, then to Arlington, Texas, where they established their home. The couple welcomed daughters Felicity and Evangeline. Jingga embraced motherhood, sharing tender moments on social media, first smiles, first steps, and bedtime prayers. She also used her growing platform to support charitable causes. In 2019, she traveled to Africa to help build wells, advocating for clean water access. Her voice reached far beyond Arkansas. Portland church groups quoted her blogs. College students in Boston cited her interviews on mental health. Others admired her humility in facing life's challenges. Despite fame's glare, Jingga remained authentic. She addressed criticism directly, whether about modest fashion, her views on feminism, or her family's values. Her responses emphasized understanding, not judgment. Fans marveled at her humility. She once said, "I may not have it all figured out, but I know my purpose is to serve others." On May 30, 2025, a day they had planned as ordinary, turned into a nightmare. May 30, 2025. A date that will forever change Jinger Duggar and her family. It began like any other Saturday in Arlington, Texas. Jingga and her husband Jeremy woke before sunrise, taking turns comforting their daughters. Felicity, 2 years old, woke with a giggle. Evangeline, 4 years old, wrapped her tiny arms around Jeremy's neck. After breakfast, Michelle, Jinga's mother, walked their older daughters inside, leaving Jingga and Jeremy a rare window of uninterrupted time. At 11:00 am, Jingga posted a photo on Instagram, herself and Jeremy on the porch, coffee mugs in hand, the caption reading, "Grateful for simple moments. Gearing up for our charity meeting. #LifeIsGood." Fans immediately showered the photo with likes and comments. No one could have guessed that just hours later, that simple moment would be overshadowed by unimaginable tragedy. By 1:00 p.m., Jingga and Jeremy arranged for their daughters to be picked up by a longtime babysitter. Jeremy shared a playful boomerang video of Jinger laughing at an inside joke. They locked the door, buckled safety seats, and drove their black 2021 Toyota Highlander down Johnson Creek Boulevard. Jingga, always conscientious behind the wheel, adjusted her mirror and smiled at Jeremy as classical music played softly on the radio. Their plan sounded ordinary: a quick lunch at a local cafe, followed by a planning session with volunteers for a clean water project set for June. At 2:15 p.m., they merged onto Loop 360, a winding thoroughfare known for scenic views, but heavy traffic during weekends. The sun shone brightly, the sky a piercing blue, with temperatures hovering around 75 degrees Fahrenheit, a perfect spring day in Texas. At 2:30 p.m., they turned onto Ranch Road 2222, heading east toward their destination. Jingga navigated the 4-lane highway carefully. Jeremy glanced at his tablet, reviewing slides for the upcoming charity event. For a moment, Jingga reached to adjust the volume of an outreach podcast being played. She laughed at a segment about a former NFL player's mission work. Laughter filled the SUV, masking the silence that would soon follow. As they approached the intersection with Loop 360, light traffic allowed Jingga to get up to 35 miles per hour. The Highlander's driver assist features kept her centered in the lane. Unbeknownst to her, a silver 2017 Honda Accord traveling eastbound on Loop 360 approached the same junction, the driver distracted by incoming text messages. Witnesses would later report that the Honda accelerated even as the light turned red. At approximately 2:45 p.m., everything changed in an instant. A loud bang echoed as the Honda T-boned the Highlander at the driver's side. The force of impact sounded like a cannon blast. Jinga's hands jerked the wheel violently. The SUV spun clockwise, colliding with a nearby guardrail, scraping metal against concrete. Jeremy was thrown toward the windshield before his seatbelt caught him. Within moments, the Highlander flipped once, then again, coming to rest on its side. Windows shattered, debris strewn across the asphalt. Eyewitness Karen Morales, who was ordering tacos from her food truck a block away, described the scene. "It was like someone dropped a bomb. I saw metal and glass everywhere. Their SUV was lifted off the road, then slammed back down." Nearby jogger Michael Thompson rushed over. He found Jingga slumped over the steering wheel, unconscious, a pool of blood forming beneath her head. Jeremy, bleeding from a deep cut on his arm, crawled out the passenger window, shouting her name. Jeremy kept trying to open the driver's door, but it was jammed, said Thompson. He ripped off his shirt to use as a tourniquet on his arm, then ran to a bystander to call 911. Within 2 minutes, Arlington Fire Department units arrived. Officers cordoned off the area, redirecting traffic miles away. Paramedics pried open the crushed door using hydraulic rescue tools, dubbed the jaws of life. Jingga lay motionless, her face pale, chest rising and falling erratically with each breath. A paramedic applied a cervical collar, checking for a pulse. Blood oozed from a laceration on her forehead. Her breathing was shallow, EMT Sarah Nguyen recounted. "We could see her rib cage moving unevenly. It was clear she had multiple broken ribs. Her pulse was only 42, dangerously low. We stabilized her neck and used a spine board to prevent further injury. Jeremy, in shock, was treated on-site for a concussion and superficial lacerations. He kept repeating, "Jingga, I'm right here," staring in disbelief as paramedics loaded her onto a stretcher. A brief prayer circle formed around Jeremy and Jingga, led by a passerby who called out, "Pray for them." At 2:52 p.m., an air ambulance from Life Flight lined up on the tarmac of a nearby private helipad. Within moments, Jingga was strapped onto a gurney, sedated to prevent her from responding to the pain, and hoisted aboard. The rotors began to spin as the medical crew started IVs containing blood plasma, pushing saline to counteract her low blood pressure. The helicopter rose into the clear sky, bearing Jingga toward the trauma unit at Baylor University Medical Center. As the helicopter descended onto the rooftop helipad of Baylor University Medical Center in Dallas, medical staff were on high alert. Jingga arrived pale and unresponsive. A rapid CT scan revealed a life-threatening subdural hematoma, brain bleeding that could worsen at any moment. In addition, doctors discovered multiple rib fractures on her left side, a broken collarbone, and lacerations to her liver and spleen. Within minutes, surgeons led by Dr. Alicia Patel whisked Jingga into the operating room for an emergency craniotomy. Operating under bright lights, they drilled into her skull to relieve pressure, carefully evacuating the blood clot. Simultaneously, trauma surgeons performed a laparotomy to repair her abdominal injuries, controlling internal bleeding and stabilizing her spleen. Blood products were administered to counter her dangerously low hemoglobin levels. At 11:15 p.m., after hours of surgery, Dr. Patel emerged to speak with the family. "Jingga's injuries are severe," she said, removing her surgical cap. "We have stabilized the bleeding in her brain and repaired the abdominal lacerations, but she remains in critical condition. We have placed her in a medically induced coma to control intracranial pressure. At this point, every hour is vital as we monitor for signs of increased swelling." Family members huddled in the waiting room, illuminated only by the glow of hallway monitors. Jeremy, pale and exhausted, dropped to his knees, whispering prayerful words. Michelle leaned into her husband Jim Bob, sobbing quietly. Jana grasped Jill's shoulder. Jill held Jess's hand. No cameras, no lights, just raw emotion. Nurses report that Jingga's vitals remain unstable. Her blood pressure fluctuates, her pulse is weak, and mechanical ventilation supports her breathing. ICU nurse Laura Simmons said, "Her respiratory rate stabilizes between 12 and 14 breaths per minute. Good for now, but if her lungs show signs of collapse, we'll have to insert chest tubes. Her rib fractures make breathing painful, so pain management is crucial." In the early hours, neurologists administered mannitol, an osmotic diuretic, to reduce cerebral swelling. A ventriculostomy catheter was placed to drain excess fluid. The medical team conducted hourly neurological checks, testing pupils, monitoring reflexes, and assessing sedation levels. Each update carried a mixture of hope and fear. Her postoperative scans looked promising, Dr. Patel explained in a later update. "We see slight reduction in swelling, but it's slow. We've kept her on a strict sedation protocol. We won't attempt to reduce sedation until we are certain her intracranial pressure remains below 20 mmHg. The risk of herniation is real." By morning, Jingga's condition showed marginal improvement. Daughter Evangeline, 4, and Felicity, 2, were brought to the hospital to see their mother through a glass window, safely distanced. Jeremy held them close, explaining in gentle tones, "Mommy is taking a long rest right now. She needs prayers to get stronger." The girls, clutching stuffed animals, placed small drawings on the windowsill, pictures of hearts, rainbows, and Jingga's favorite flower, a sunflower. As dawn broke, Pastor Mark Reynolds led a small prayer vigil in the chapel. "We lift up Jingga's name," he declared, "guard her mind, protect her body, and grant wisdom to the doctors." Family and close friends joined in, voices echoing softly through empty corridors. Despite cautious optimism from medical staff Dr. Emily Carter, a consulting neurologist, stressed the unpredictable nature of traumatic brain injuries. Recovery depends on multiple factors: age, overall health, and speed of intervention. A positive sign is the initial reduction in swelling, but the risk of infection, seizures, or secondary injuries remains. Rehabilitation will begin once sedation is lifted, but that could take days, even weeks. By late afternoon, Jinga's vital signs stabilized sufficiently to reduce sedation slightly. Monitors beeped steadily as her heart rate settled. Jeremy sat by her side, whispering Bible verses. Though unconscious, Jinga's family vowed to remain vigilant, guarding every breath, every heartbeat, as they held on to faith and hope for a miracle. In the wake of the accident, the Duggar compound in Arkansas fell silent. When news reached Jim Bob and Michelle, they were at a routine church meeting. Jim Bob dropped to his knees, his face pale, as Michelle clutched a framed photo of Jingga from her wedding day. Siblings received frantic phone calls. Jill, Melissa, and Jessa immediately cancelled all engagements. Joanna, who had been attending a friend's Bible study, rushed home to gather belongings for the urgent flight to Texas. Within hours, the Duggar matriarch and patriarch boarded a chartered plane bound for Dallas-Fort Worth International Airport. En route, Jim Bob whispered Psalm 46:1. God is our refuge and strength, an ever-present help in trouble. Michelle texted family members, coordinating lodging near Baylor University Medical Center. Sister Jana stepped into the role of logistics coordinator, handling flights, rental cars, and hotel arrangements for more than a dozen siblings descending on Dallas. Arriving late at night, Jim Bob and Mikkel hurried to the hospital chapel, only to find Jeremy kneeling beside Jinga's ICU door. Jeremy, eyes red and hollow, embraced Mikkel. She's still alive, he whispered, voice choked. That's all that matters. Michelle, unable to speak, gazed at her daughter's motionless form through the glass. Jana gently guided her back to the waiting room, where hugging siblings exchanged tearful embraces. Sisters Jill and Jessa took shifts at Jinga's bedside. Jill, who had recently become a mother herself, struggled to even look at the monitors. I keep thinking of her holding my babies, she said softly to a nurse. Jessa held Jinga's hand, her knuckles white as she gripped for signs of warmth. Every beep held terror. Every pause in the beep, a moment of hope. Brother Josh, who had joined a youth outreach in Nashville months earlier, flew in at dawn. His sunglasses hid the grief in his eyes, but he knelt by Michelle, placing a comforting arm around her shoulder. Our family is strong, he assured, though fear trembled beneath the words. Across multiple floors, relatives and close friends gathered. Zach and Tori Roloff, fellow reality stars and family friends, sent a private prayer video. We love you, Jingga, they said, tears in their eyes. Cousin Cock and Aunt Diana arrived with sandwiches, coffee, and hugs. Pastor Mark Reynolds remained constant, leading impromptu prayer services every hour on the hour, inviting nurses and staff to join. Joanna offered healing psalms from Jeremiah. Their collective voices filled the hallway, a chorus of love and desperation. Jim Bob, usually stoic, broke down as a nurse described Jinga's scans. I feel like the floor is crumbling beneath me, he confessed. Michelle, head bowed, remained motionless, tears soaking her sleeves. Within that room, cameras were barred, privacy shielded by hospital staff. Only quiet sobs and whispered prayers echoed in the sterile corridors. Meanwhile, Jeremy's family, based in California, arrived in waves. His parents, Joe and April Volo, sat quietly on a couch, holding hands. April wept silently as she watched Jeremy kneel, pressing his forehead to a gloved hand. Joe stood by the window, whispering, "Keep the faith." Close friends from Jeremy's church arrived at sundown, bringing casseroles and homemade cards, reminding him he was not alone. Through the first 24 hours, family members took turns keeping vigil. No one spoke of surrender, they spoke of faith. They clung to small victories, a slight rise in Jinga's oxygen levels, a stable heart rate, or a fleeting flutter of her eyelids. Each moment was a reminder of hope. In those hours, the Duggar family's media training meant nothing. This was not a scripted moment. It was real life. They shed TV personas and embraced raw vulnerability. In a world accustomed to seeing them on screen, they now revealed their deepest fears. One thing remained certain: they would stand united, praying and hoping until Jinga's heart beat stronger on its own once more. Within minutes of news breaking, social media exploded with concern. The hashtag prayed for Jingga trended globally. Fans shared artwork, prayer chains, and uplifting messages. "Stay strong, Jingga," read one tweet. "You've inspired me to serve others," wrote another. Instagram stories overflowed with candles and Bible verses. Local Arlington residents organized a vigil outside Baylor Hospital. Over 100 people gathered, holding teal ribbons, Jinga's favorite color. Strangers offered blankets and water bottles to anxious family members. In nearby churches, prayer services began spontaneously. Pastor Emily Clark led a packed sanctuary at First Baptist Little Rock, urging congregants, "Lift Jinger up in prayer tonight. She is a daughter, a mother, and a friend to many." News outlets across the country issued updates at every hour. Morning shows replayed clips from Counting On, highlighting Jinga's compassion for orphans and the environment. Even political figures joined in. The mayor of Little Rock issued a statement. "On behalf of the city, we are united in prayer for Jingga Vulo's recovery. Her faith and devotion have inspired us all." Meanwhile, college students in Texas and beyond held prayer vigils on campus. Students at the University of Texas at Austin printed flyers reading "Pray for Jingga Duggar" and passed them out to passing classmates. In Los Angeles, vegan activism groups who admired her ethical views organized virtual candlelight services via Zoom. Online fundraisers surfaced almost immediately. A GoFundMe page set a goal of $500,000 to cover medical bills. Within 24 hours, supporters donated over $800,000. Several church groups arranged meal trains for the Vulo household, delivering casseroles, sandwiches, and prayers to their Arlington home. Celebrity friends and fellow reality stars voiced support. Zach and Tori Roloff of Little People, Big World posted a joint video, saying, "Our hearts go out to Jingga and her family. We're praying for her to pull through." Kristen Cavallari, who met Jingga at a charity event, wrote on Twitter, "No words can express how much we love you. Please heal Jingga." Across the globe, fans lit candles at midnight in Tokyo, Sydney, and London, sharing photos under hashtag #PrayForJingga. Messages poured in from as far as South Africa and Brazil, proof that Jingga's influence transcends continents. The world watched and prayed, united by hope in the face of tragedy. To understand the severity of Jingga's injuries, we consulted top medical professionals. Dr. Emily Carter, a neurosurgeon not involved in Jingga's care, explained the complexity of her head trauma. A subdural hematoma is one of the most dangerous types of brain bleed. Even with immediate surgical intervention, patients face risks of rebleeding, infection, and seizures. In Jingga's case, the fact that the bleeding was caught quickly is a positive sign. However, her young age and overall health will influence her recovery. Orthopedic surgeon Dr. Michael Sanders commented on her fractured ribs and clavicle. Multiple rib fractures can compromise breathing. Pain management is crucial to prevent pneumonia. We might consider surgical fixation to stabilize the ribs if she struggles to breathe. Her collarbone may require a plate to support healing. Given the severity, she will likely need assistance with breathing and physical therapy for weeks to months. Dr. Angela Martinez, a trauma specialist, noted the importance of addressing internal injuries. Splenic lacerations are common in T-bone collisions. If the spleen was severely damaged, a splenectomy could be required, affecting her immune function. Abdominal injuries can lead to complications like infections or bowel obstruction. A coordinated approach among neurology, orthopedics, and general surgery teams is essential. Nutritionist Karen Lopez, familiar with trauma recovery, emphasized rehabilitation. After stabilization, Jingga will need a high-protein diet to rebuild lost blood and muscle. Once she awakens, feeding tubes might be necessary if she cannot swallow safely. Occupational and speech therapists will evaluate cognitive function. Brain trauma can lead to memory loss, speech difficulties, and emotional lability. While these medical opinions offer context, Jingga's actual prognosis depends on how her body responds. For now, all eyes remain on her vital signs and scan results, hoping for a miracle in the making. Faith has always been Jingga's anchor. Even before fame, she comforted siblings and volunteered at church. Now, that faith humbly begs for a miracle. Each afternoon at 3 p.m., family and friends gather in Baylor's quiet hospital chapel. Candles flicker, and hymns like "It Is Well With My Soul" fill the air. Pastor Mark Reynolds leads prayers, reading from Isaiah, "Those who hope in the Lord will renew their strength." In the hallway outside Jingga's ICU, family members form an unbroken chain, hands clasped, heads bowed. Jana recites Psalm. Jill whispers Philippians, "Do not be anxious about anything." Jessa reads Jeremiah, "Heal me, O Lord, and I shall be healed." Joanna offers Psalm. He heals the brokenhearted and binds up their wounds. Jeremy, his voice strained, recorded a video message with tears streaming. Jingga, if you can hear me, know we all love you. Our family stands with you. To our friends and fans, please keep the faith. His words reverberated across platforms, pressed into the hearts of thousands. Michelle posted a childhood photo of Jingga on Instagram with the caption, "Our miracle baby. We believe in God's goodness." Jim Bob shared Psalm. "I lift up my eyes to the hills. Where does my help come from? My help comes from the Lord." Those verses, once simple affirmations, now resonate as lifelines. In neighboring towns, church bells toll at sundown. Prayer chains stretch from Texas to Tennessee, from Arkansas to the United Kingdom. In a small chapel in London, worshippers lit candles and held a moment of silence for Jingga. In Sydney, a youth group gathered, singing worship songs, sending their faith upward. Their collective hope shines as brightly as any medical scan. As long as prayers rise, so does the possibility that Jingga's story will continue. In the darkness of ICU, faith fights despair's shadows. Jingga's journey transcends reality TV. As a Duggar daughter, she overcame a sheltered childhood, emerging into adulthood with compassion and authenticity. On screen, she showcased her devotion to faith and family. Off-screen, she championed humanitarian causes. Her trips to Africa and India raised awareness for clean water and orphan care. She wrote candid blog posts about mental health, body image, and balancing faith with modern life. Critics once questioned her views on modesty and tradition. Instead of deflecting, Jingga engaged gently. She hosted discussions on her blog, inviting critics and supporters to dialogue. When asked about her choice of attire, she responded, "My clothing reflects my values, but my heart seeks connection beyond appearances." That struck a chord with viewers who felt judged. Her marriage to Jeremy brought new chapters, moving to California, then to Texas, redefining their lives beyond cameras. She embraced motherhood wholeheartedly, even when critics speculated false motives. Photos of her daughters playing under a prairie sky or cuddled on laps became symbols of her simple joy. Fans admired how she balanced family, faith, and service. Her impact extends to the Duggar family's evolving narrative. She often spoke of unity over division, healing over hurt. When her sister's scandal erupted, Jingga's call for grace offered a model of empathy. She urged viewers to pray for healing, not condemnation. Today, as Jingga fights for her life, we remember her legacy, a young woman who used unexpected fame to build bridges between faith and modernity, between privilege and servitude. Whether she recovers fully or not, her influence endures, inspiring individuals to live with compassion, serve beyond themselves, and hold on to hope in the darkest hours. We have walked through the journey of Jingga Duggar, from a sheltered upbringing under the cameras of 19 kids and counting, to a life of service as a mother, wife, and advocate. Today, we stand at a crossroads of hope and uncertainty as she fights for her life in a Dallas hospital. The outpouring of love, prayers, and support from family, friends, and fans demonstrates the power of community, faith, and compassion. If there is one takeaway, it is this: life can change in a single heartbeat. A moment of distraction behind the wheel, and everything shifts. As you leave this broadcast, remember to cherish your loved ones, to drive with undivided attention, and to hold on to faith when storms rage, even when the future seems unclear. Let us honor Jinga's legacy by being present, loving fiercely, and forgiving quickly. Continue to pray for Jingga. More update. Jinger Duggar shares vulnerable message about postpartum body after pregnancy weight gain. Jinger Duggar reunites with sisters Jana and Jessa for the first time after birth of son Finn. And Jinger Duggar details crazy routines her family followed amid reality show. I will explain everything. Jinger Duggar shares vulnerable message about postpartum body after pregnancy weight gain. Jinger Duggar welcomed her son Finn less than 2 months ago, and she has already learned to appreciate her figure. I went on a date with Jana last night, which is a vulnerable post. Duggar, 31, posted on her Instagram stories on Thursday, May 29. We went out to dinner and did a little shopping together, alluding to her husband, Jeremy Volo. I needed some things that I could use during this postpartum period. I had a distorted view of my body and struggled with body image for years, she added. I thought that if I could just shed a few more pounds, I would at last feel content with my appearance and confident. But by God's goodness, accountability helped me get through that time. Duggar said that coming to terms with her appearance was truly transformative, although she acknowledged that it's not always easy. Jinger Duggar's fears of becoming too fat caused her to undereat as a child. I made the decision to embrace my uniqueness and concentrate on the truth when old lies started to creep in. It was really liberating, the former member of Counting On wrote. I no longer identified with a number on the scale, but I still enjoyed exercising and eating well. Years after overcoming her issues with body image, Duggar thought it was abnormal to put on weight when pregnant. Prior to Finn, she had 2 children, Evangeline in 2020 and Felicity in 2018. During my first pregnancy, I recall how odd it felt to put on so much weight and be very content with it. Even though I remained active and healthy, I gained at least 45 pounds during each of my pregnancies, Duggar recalled. It was another chance for me to let go of my notions of how I should appear. After the birth of kid number 3, Duggar is concentrating on changing her perspective. This season, God has brought me so much joy, she wrote. Even though I still have a soft stomach and some extra weight, I'm quite content. I'm accepting the beauty and blessing of this moment in my life, rather than worrying about it. One of the 19 children of Jim Bob and Michelle Duggar, Jingga, has previously disclosed that she experienced self-consciousness regarding her weight during her adolescence. Honest statements from Jinger Duggar regarding her upbringing, modest clothes, cult comparisons, and more. I believe there is a lot of discussion in our culture about what true beauty is and what defines us, whether it's our appearance, our upbringing, or our popularity. Whatever those things may be, Jinger exclusively told US Weekly in May 2021, even though I was in excellent shape and didn't need to lose weight, my weight and body image were the issues that I struggled with. As a 14-year-old girl, I was really struggling with that, so I felt compelled to. Jinger claims that only her mother and Volo, who she married in 2016, were aware of her insecurities. She remarked, I think just those issues that I had. I wanted others to be able to see that they're not alone and that there are answers for that, alluding to her choice to explore her difficulties in her memoir, Becoming Free Indeed. And you don't have to feel like you have to meet a certain standard of personality, beauty, or anything else. It's just about accepting who you were meant to be. As time went on, Jingga came to understand that she doesn't need to measure up to any ideas or criteria of beauty. I don't deal with it every day, but there are days when I feel like it will cross my mind for a brief moment, she told us. It's inevitable for everyone to look in the mirror and say, oh, like, I feel terrible. Or, I know, okay, if I've been eating really bad, all I need to do is get back on track. Jinger Duggar reunites with sisters Jana and Jessa for the first time after birth of son Finn. But why? Living in 3 different states while raising their own families must be difficult for the eldest of Jim, Bob, and Michelle Duggar's children, who grew up sharing a bedroom with their sisters. Jinga's sisters came to visit her in California this week, most likely to meet her new son, Finn, for the first time. She is now posting about their experiences on social media. Jingga first posted a vlog-style video of the trip, and the group was filled with a corresponding schedule. Jessa and her husband, Ben Seawold, and their 5 kids traveled with Jana and husband, Stephen Wisman. The fact that Jingga noted that it allowed her and husband Jeremy Vulo to be tourists in our own city makes it appear completely chaotic but incredibly enjoyable. It appears that when it came to showing the family around town, Jinger and Jeremy went all out. From visiting Knott's Berry Farm to touring well-known sites like the Hollywood Walk of Fame to visiting Jinga's favorite thrift stores and coffee shops, it seems like they had a great day. People are expressing their happiness that the girls were able to spend time together in the comments section of Jinga's recent posts. With Jinger in California, Jana in Nebraska, and Jessa in Arkansas, they must find it difficult to live in 3 different states, yet they have always been quite close. I love that so many of your siblings are coming to visit. So special. A commenter wrote, I'm so happy to see you all coming together for some sibling time. Another user remarked, these memories are made even more special by busy lives. It's hardly unexpected that some people couldn't resist asking if Jill Duggar had also been invited to the sister meeting, given the intense interest in her current family situation. Will you please invite Jill Duggar to join you all? A fan inquired. However, for now, it appears that Jinger and 2 sisters she doesn't see very frequently had a great reunion. Perhaps Jill will be able to attend the next event. Jinger Duggar shares vulnerable post about postpartum body image after baby no. 3. Jinger Duggar is talking candidly about her postpartum body image 2 months after the birth of her 3rd child, baby Finn. In an Instagram post that she acknowledged was a vulnerable post, Jinger discussed how her feelings about her body after giving birth have evolved from her first pregnancy to the present. It is likely that many new mothers will be able to identify with the former Counting On star. Jinger stated that after spending her most recent date night with husband Jeremy Vulo shopping for clothing that work for me in this postpartum season, she felt compelled to explain how she feels about the way she looks these days. She acknowledged that although she appeared content in the picture, she wasn't always that way with her weight and physical changes. Jinger has previously talked candidly about her battle with an eating disorder as a child and the need to have a healthier perspective on her body and fitness routine. As a result, it was somewhat of a strange experience for her to gain so much weight and actually be okay with it during her first pregnancy with her oldest daughter, Felicity. Even though I remained active and healthy, I gained at least 45 pounds with each of my pregnancies, she stated. It was another chance for me to let go of my idealized version of myself. Her message ended with the statement, I'm genuinely happy, but I still have a soft tummy and lingering pounds. Instead of worrying about it, I'm embracing the beauty and gift of this moment in my life. Jinger displayed the red light treatment mask she had been using and mentioned in her Instagram stories that day that she was searching for skincare products without Botox. Any self-care activity a new mother may incorporate into her routine might have a significant impact during the initial postpartum period. Well done, Jinger. Jinger Duggar details crazy routines her family followed amid reality show. The reality star talked candidly about how nervous she was to film the Duggar's debut TV program in 2004 and recounted the unusual ways they managed to maintain order while traveling with 19 children. Jinger Duggar Vulo and her husband, Jeremy Vulo, re-watched the 2004 premiere of 14 Children and Pregnant Again, her family's first reality program, in a recent episode of the Jinger and Jeremy podcast. Jinger revealed that she was nervous when her family allowed cameras into their homes for the show that would eventually make her family famous. In order to maintain family harmony, Jingga disclosed that her parents, Jim Bob and Michelle Duggar, made the children clean the house like crazy before the crew arrived and devised some original activities. Details about the backstage activities of her family's several reality shows are being revealed by Jinger Duggar. The 2004 premiere of 14 Children and Pregnant Again was rewatched by her and her husband, Jeremy Vuolo, on a recent edition of the Jingga and Jeremy podcast. As the Duggars began their 17-year television run, Jingga reflected on how they got ready to have cameras in their lives. "We cleaned a ton," she disclosed. "We had our responsibilities, and my mom always kept our home tidy. Our home wasn't always a complete wreck. Even when things would become disorganized, we would always tidy up after ourselves." Jingga stated she will never forget the attention to detail. "At our house, we had white baseboards, so I just recall that we cleaned them. We had to thoroughly clean them, as well as our white walls, because they would get dirty, I recall. That is what we would do, but before cameras arrived." She claimed that in order to convince her and her brothers to comply with their TV appearance guidelines, her parents, Jim Bob and Michelle, would invent games as rewards. She mentioned that when the family would all get together in the 15-passenger van, my dad realized some of the kids were not wanting to buckle. If someone was the first to say click or anything similar, I believe that's how it works, and they would receive a penny. It was like playing a game every time you got into the vehicle, so it would mount up over time. Actually, it was a game. Additionally, she said, they had a little running tally of that for little chores that we would do, like cleaning out the van. We would be paid whatever amount they desired in exchange for clearing the van of all the trash. When the Duggars began shooting, Jingga was just 10 years old. She acknowledged that she was nervous about introducing herself to the world and having strangers move into her house out of nowhere. She started, "It was one thing to have the camera in your face at the time. However, they would remark, 'Yeah, try not to look at the camera,' when that was over. Do what you want to do. It would simply occur," she added. That idea wasn't something we were used to. As the Duggar family grew throughout the years, they eventually had 19 children. Jingga claimed that one thing they all understood exactly how to do was line up for the opening credits of 14 Children and Pregnant Again movie. "We would always form a line. We'd be in code O if we went out," she clarified. "That implies birth order. Code order, I suppose. The meaning of that was never really clear to me. Code O, they would say, nonetheless. Then, like a flock of ducks, we would line up in birth order, with the youngest in front and the oldest in back, and proceed to move about. We'd be like, 'Hop in line.'" Jingga said as soon as Jeremy questioned what would happen if they weren't in the right sequence. "You're doing what?" Jingga revealed that it wasn't until she became a mother that she realized how unique her life was, and that the size of the family is what initially brought attention to the Duggars. "Compared to even your typical family, we did a lot of things differently," she stated. "We frequently drove a shuttle bus whenever we went out, for years. Therefore, I believe that's what's fascinating. Additionally, it's crucial that my mom has all of the kids," she admitted. "Additionally, we were all homeschooled. Some of those features are therefore highly distinctive." No more today. What are you thinking about this gossip today? Let us know in the comments, and stay tuned by subscribing to our channel to get more updates like this. Thank you.